Designed to be deleted is the biggest scam that I've ever heard, right? They're designed to hook you on. If you're still on dating apps, it means the dating apps have gotten it wrong.
Who do you think is calling off relationship? Is it men more or women more?
The highest divorce rate amongst couples in different sexual orientations is the lesbian community. I think it's up there in the 70-80%. The second highest divorce rate is within sort of the heterosexual community, man, woman, right? And the lowest separation or divorce rate is in the gay community.
What's the one mistake, Sunil, people keep repeating that kills a potential connection?
The biggest mistake is people say no for a prospective match based on very little information. Ironically, the second mistake people make is people keep saying yes to someone after meeting them a couple times and they know it's not going to work out. They'll go out anyway.
Why do some people keep falling for the wrong type of person over and over again? Welcome to Breakthrough Moments with Priyanka Bhatt. What if I told you that finding love isn't about endless swipes or perfect bios, but about real conversations over coffee? That's exactly what Sunil Hiranandani, the founder of Sirf Coffee, believes in. He's redefining how modern Indians date through curated, bespoke offline experiences that focus on chemistry, compatibility, and connection rather than just algorithms. In today's episode, we'll dive into how Sirf Coffee is making dating more intentional and why today's youth struggles with meaningful relationships and what it really takes to find a true connection that lasts beyond the first cup. So stay tuned till the last end of the episode, and I'm sure it's going to be a fun and exciting ride. Stay tuned. Great, Sunil. Very excited to have this conversation on my show, Breakthrough Moments with Priyanka Bhatt, and pleased to have this chat here today.
Pleasure is mine. Great to be here.
Today's young youth is just trying to hook up, or are they really trying to find serious relationships through dating apps?
I mean, it depends. I think you have all kinds of people, right? I think people have come a full circle. We started off with sort of arranged marriages with very little empowerment in the sort of people that we end up marrying. Then there was a little bit of a rebel backlash. And now folks are coming back to, I think, sort of, a hybrid of traditional values and modern expectations, right?
Let's talk about expectations. You spoke about expectations. What sort of expectations people are looking for on dating apps today?
Well, on the apps, I think it's driven by superficial features, right? So the way you look dictates almost everything, right? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You're basing the most important decision of your life on a heavily filtered or AI modified image, right? So one really must go beyond skin deep when it comes to the process of finding your forever.
Right. So, what are the important aspects you think is young people should look at besides the looks? Because obviously, when you look at a profile, the first thing you're going to look at is the picture of the person.
Sure.
So, I'm sure relationships are beyond just images of people,
Of course.
right? So, what are the things you advise young India to look at when they look at?
I think difficult conversations, right? You have to talk. I do think who you marry is going to be the number one. I think who you marry is going to be the most important decision you ever make, right? It's going to have a profound impact on the trajectory of your happiness. So I think people need to have conversations around money, around parents, about living, about geography. Where do you want to live? Do you want kids? How do you see the role of finance? Do you intend on working? Do you intend on contributing to family finances, goals and values? So there's sort of I think there needs to be some basic hard conversations about, hygiene issues. And then there need to be conversations around aspirations and values and goals. Right. Most people assume we're the same age, we're in the same profession, we want the same things. Yeah. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. But do you think people are just pretending because they want to please the other, the partner or the person they're meeting? So do you think they're just pretending to be someone they're not?
I mean, initially, that's why it's important. I think we're all pretend to put our best foot forward. So there's a fine line between pretending and and putting your best foot forward and sort of accommodating and seeming at least wanting to be open-minded. I think that's why it's important to do your due diligence, if you will. And by that, I mean actually take your time. There's no pressure. Like it's an artificial clock. we've introduced for ourselves, whether it's biological, whether it's cultural. There's no such thing, right?
Right.
The grass really may not be greener on the other side. I'm a professional matchmaker, and I still say this, it's 2025. It's a fantastic time to get married. It's a fantastic time to get divorced. It's a fantastic time to stay single, right? You do you. But if you think you do want to share your life, your success with somebody else, take your time to get to know them.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more because I've gone through that journey myself. So
Sure.
I couldn't agree more on that. Let's talk a little bit about blind dating. I know when I say blind dating, it's about, a company like yours.
Sure.
Looking at matchmaking through curated bespoke experiences.
Yeah.
So it's not really a blind date, but you're not seeing the person before you meet them.
Agreed.
So do you think they work better than, a video call or a DM, and if so, why do you think that works better?
I think so. I think at least the way at Sirf Coffee, the way it works is we share a little bit about each other to our clients. So we share about 100 words: first name, ethnicity, age, and any salient details. If they're divorced or they intend on relocating, I think the key stuff that sort of the other party would view as deal breakers, right? The fundamentals, essentially. But beyond that, it's not like you're gonna end up marrying. It's not a reality show where you have to marry them.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a cup of coffee or a cocktail. So the suspense is going to go. I tell people all the time, by engaging each other digitally before meeting in real life, there's no upside. No one's gonna ever think that, oh wow, this person is really funny by messaging me at 2 a.m. about what I'm wearing, right? It's only downhill from there. The best version of you is in real life, right? So I think meeting someone in person, getting a sense of their vibe, getting a sense of how they posture themselves, getting a sense, the responses you feel while you're in their presence, right? Is there chemistry, is there electricity, or is it completely platonic?
Yeah.
That's why I think meeting in person is absolutely key.
Right.
And in this sort of heavily sort of digital profile world, we take away that optionality, right? You get to know the person for what they are rather than what they put up online.
Right. And one thing really worries me, that why do people have so many checklists before they go on their first date? I mean, men, women, both.
Sure.
They have a long checklist before they actually, when they're trying to find love. Why do you think that's happening?
I think as a culture, as a community, our expectations have evolved, right? So the base case for us was arranged marriage, right? Where other people decided for you that this is a good recommendation, this is the person you should marry. Sure, you might have a veto right for the first 1-2 people, but ultimately, a lot of other people were making this most important life decision for you. I think we've overcompensated, right? Going the other way, saying, look, other people decided for my mom or for my grandmother, and now I want to do everything on my own. And as an Indian community, at least of the space that Sirf Coffee operates in, we're doing pretty well all over the world, right? So our salaries have increased, the universities we're going to are better, our travel experiences. So every aspect of our lives has been upgraded. So young folks are thinking, well, if I can get exactly what I want professionally, why can I not get exactly what I want personally? And the media and sort of the media and social media perpetuates this, right? Think, you are amazing and you deserve amazing. When in reality, if you can get most of what you want, right? And if you're with a person that makes you laugh, the person makes you feel good, that's really enough. All the kind of other stuff fades away over time.
Right. Interesting. So have you seen any trends where you've seen, say, arranged marriages are, say, less or more successful than concepts like or curated experiences like yours, for example? Are there any interesting statistics that you've seen? See, on one side you have arranged marriages like
Sure.
Shadi.com and Bharat Matrimony. On the
Right.
other side you have hookups like, say, Tinder, Bumble, where people are just wanting to have fun. And then you have curated bespoke experiences like Sirf Coffee, who vet every candidate and they
Yep.
try to match on the interest and
Sure.
lifestyle and the vibe more than ethnicity and religion and
Yeah.
caste. So are there any interesting trends when you see all these three cohorts?
I think I think, so let's start with the first one. If you think about the Shadi.coms or the Bharat matrimonies, I think that's a space sort of that's shrinking, in fact, right? So whether you're in a smaller tier two city or even, other rural parts of India, yes, there, look, all these companies exist because demand exists for such services. But
Right.
I think that cohort is shrinking, right? I think more and more people want to be in charge of their search, especially women, young women. They've seen what it's like when someone else picks for you, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But they want to increase that probability, right, of a good match.
Yeah.
When it comes to sort of dating apps, sort of they're based on westernized notions of dating. So Tinder and Bumble and others work really well when you've been dating since 14, 15, 16 years old. What happens in India is you're not really allowed to date till you're 24, 25.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, when you don't have a boyfriend, your parents ask you, why don't you have one? Well, I was never allowed to, you didn't let me go out for the last decade when I was supposed to. Um, and again, if you're swiping off someone for a short-term relationship, society needs an appetite for short-term relationships. If Indian society, we're getting there, but we're not fully there yet, right?
Yeah.
This idea of here's this girl, she's dated 5 or 6 guys, and she's still very much in demand. I've seen, we have double standards for men and women, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of sort of the dating cohort, there's a bit of fatigue and there's a lack of product market fit. So that's what I'm observing, right? It doesn't work even in the West. There's too many options and just too much swiping.
Yeah.
B, for India, we sort of think about dating as dating to marry. We don't think about dating for dating's sake. So a Tinder model doesn't really subscribe to a dating to marry mindset, and that's why we're here, right? I think the cohort that's growing
Yeah.
is I want optionality,
Yeah.
but I want some vetting and I want some curation. So I want all the good things about the arranged setup, and I want all of the optionality of a dating app, and that's why we exist.
Right. So very interesting you said that for men and women they're perceived very differently. So when you look at dating, why do men still feel that women who are confident can be it equals to attitude or attitude?
It exists indeed, where there is an absolute double standard. I think Indian men are not used to sort of empowered, confident women, and they can be mislabeled for something else, like as you said, having an attitude. I think the problem is twofold, right? Sort of our men used to be sons, and our sons have been told that they are freaking amazing since the moment they were born, right? They can do no wrong. And it's interesting, if you think about sort of the last 30, 40 years, there has been a sort of a rise in parents, sort of millennial parents who are like, look, I'm going to be different. I'm going to do things differently.
Yeah.
I'm going to raise my daughter like I raised my son.
Yeah.
Fine. You think that's a good idea. Those people grow up, they get married, they have a fancy wedding in the Maldives, and after the honeymoon, they come back home, and they're like, the guy's like, right, what's for dinner? And the girl's like, I don't know, what is for dinner?
Yeah.
And rather than, you have two sort of people with no life skills whatsoever, right? So I think the mistake that these modern Indian parents have made, rather than raising their sons like their daughters, they should have, rather than raising their daughters like their sons, they should have raised their sons like their daughters, right? With life skills, a practical approach, having honest conversations about the future,
Yeah.
right? Because what you're having is basically a disenfranchised generation where there are there's no deep conversations that have taken place at all.
Right. No, it's very interesting because I think our generation is facing that challenge,
Yeah.
and that's why you see so many divorces, and there's a rise in divorce cases as well.
Absolutely.
Right, because women are considered equals, and they want equal partnership, whether it's not only just work but home, household chores, taking care of raising children, taking care of the kids. So I think that is definitely seeping in India, and then that's the
Absolutely.
reason divorce cases are going higher and higher, I would say. I would be very interested to know what kind of matches people are looking at, say in their 30s, vis-a-vis in the 40s, because you cater to a diverse or a large diaspora.
Yeah.
So you'll have somebody in the early 30s also coming to you, whereas you'll have somebody in the 40s as well, or 45 coming to you. How are their preferences different between the 30s and the 40s generation?
That's an excellent question. I mean, as you said, Sirf Coffee, we start taking on people in their late 20s, early 30s,
Yeah.
all the way. I mean, we have clients who are over 60 years old, right?
Yeah.
Round two. We had a client who got married through us and then introduced her divorced mom to Sirf Coffee. So the
Okay.
daughter got married through Sirf Coffee, and then
Okay.
they brought their parent along saying, this worked for me, it could work for you.
Oh, very
Right?
interesting.
So it's a real interesting way of looking at looking at things. I think when folks are young, everything is sort of on the table. Everything is a must. Everything is an absolute deal breaker. And you have funky phrases like, "I just want someone with a growth mindset," and I tell them, "Dude, do you even know what that is? This is not a LinkedIn update, right? There's no
Yeah.
such thing as a growth mindset." I think when you're younger, everything's on the table. Everything is absolutely mission critical. Everything is a deal breaker, right? You have things like, "I want someone with a growth mindset." I mean, what does that actually mean, right? It's something you put up on LinkedIn to sound intelligent, but it really doesn't apply in your personal life. And as you get older, I think we start valuing different things, right? The ability to, no one talks about when you're young, the ability to navigate conflict, right? Resilience,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. As you get older, you know, start thinking about health, you're thinking about fitness, you're thinking about peace and quiet,
Yeah.
and you're thinking about compatibility.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, just the physical aspect or the financial aspect, right? So it's no longer about sort of wealth creation or trajectory, it's about wealth preservation, for example.
Got it. No, very interesting, because I think these two cohorts are very different, and we're talking about a decade apart, right?
Yeah.
And people just evolve over time. Their preferences evolve, and the way you see the world also is very different when you're in your 30s
Yeah.
vis-a-vis when you're in your 40s or 50s.
Indeed.
You're much wiser. But there is this trend of women still getting drawn to toxic men. Why do you think that's happening? Especially, I would say, more so in the late 20s or early 30s more. Why do you think that trend is happening?
Women getting drawn to toxic men. So I would say toxicity is not limited to just men, in my opinion, right? So there's this idea around toxic masculinity. And what I found as a matchmaker, yes, absolutely it exists within men, but also exists within women, right? There's this idea of, I'll answer that question in a different, a lot of men come to me saying, "I don't want to get married," because every time I go out on dates with women, I feel like I'm being interviewed for an internship or for a promotion, right? The conversation is about work. We're dressed as if we're at work, and we're talking about money and trajectory. One guy actually got hired on his date rather than got matched, right?
Wow.
So this idea of toxic masculinity, right, exists between both men and women, and the romance has gone, right? On one hand, we want chivalry, right? You want gifts. You want if you think about the concept of an engagement ring, a
Yeah.
diamond that comes out of the ground, and you're giving it to someone for the promise to get married, right?
Yeah.
That is an antiquated concept, but no one really talks about that, right? So women want that. And I'm not judging them, as you should, but along with that, to have sort of absolute equality in everything and not equality when it comes to sort of jewelry or chivalry, I think you've got to pick a lane. You're either absolute partners in partners in crime, or there's a softness, there's a sort of, I wouldn't say there's a sort of a femininity that sort of people have to embrace. It's not so much about genders, right? It could be you need complementarity. I think that's
Right.
what you need, right? So I don't think women need to be soft or men need to be hard. I think you need something that comes together. It can be the other way around, right?
Right. So,
Sorry, go
in
ahead.
the garb of feminism, do you think that's used by women a lot more? Because women often talk about equal partnership
Sure.
in today's, and rightly it should be so. But do you think it's misused to an extent that it's taken in a very different angle,
Yeah.
and it kind of then backfires on the relationship?
I think having equality in a relationship is absolutely key. But the idea of feminism can be misunderstood,
Yeah.
and can really backfire on a relationship, right? There needs to be a softness in the romance, right? So, um, and I don't think that's at odds at being a feminist, right? The idea of having equal partnership, women having equal partnership and equal rights in a relationship, absolutely holds. But at the same time, a lot of women also want to be taken. I've heard this firsthand, so this is not my view, but I want to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I want to stop working after I get married. I've had a long investment banking career, and I want a man that I can look up to and that can take care of me.
Yeah.
Fine, I'm not judging you. We can help you find someone like that. How do you then offset that with, well, I'm going to decide everything. I'm going to decide the home we buy with your
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
right? So I think there needs to be some complementarity. There needs to be some love, and there needs to be some romance in the relationship. Otherwise, it's it's like two partners
it's too
coming,
mechanical.
joining an LLC.
Or you would say transactional. It's too
Absolutely.
transactional and
It's too
mechanical.
transactional, and I think you need masculine energy and you need feminine energy. And the masculine energy does not need to come from the man. It can come from the woman. And you need feminine energy, and that does not need to come from necessarily the woman either. But I think you need both to make couples actually come together. So interesting fact, right?
Yeah.
The highest divorce rate amongst couples in different sexual orientations is the lesbian community. I think it's up there in the 70-80%.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Right? The second highest divorce rate is within sort of the heterosexual community, man, woman, right? And the lowest separation or divorce rate is in the gay community, 2 guys,
Oh.
right?
Wow.
So if men were necessarily the problem, which I'm not saying they are or not, but it's just an interesting stat to think about.
What about like ghosting?
Yeah.
This ghosting culture has become very, very prevalent in today's day and age. A lot of people, men, women, both, they tend to ghost each other. When they meet for the first time. What is leading to this sort of a environment?
I think this idea of hiding behind a phone screen, right? Not wanting to acknowledge how you feel about someone. It's a really worrying trend. It's leaving things unfinished, right? I think ghosting is a result of 2, I think, sort of inabilities with people, with single people today. One, not having the confidence to end things on an amicable basis, right? Say, look, it was a great date, but it was not for me. I don't think people are equipped to have those mature but important conversations, right? I think so that gives rise to ghosting in one sense. The other is this idea of optionality. Why break it off when I might need to come back to this person? I can just pretend to ignore them or forget about them to leave the door open.
Yeah,
Right?
I
So
think
this
that's increasingly
idea,
happening.
Yeah, this is idea of, perpetual optionality, right? So it's sort of this immaturity to keep the door open and the lack of confidence to actually call things out for what they are that gives rise to ghosting.
So, who do you think is calling off relationship? Is it men more or women more? Are there any interesting stats you've seen in terms of who is ending the relationship?
I think women want clarity, and rightfully so, on where they stand on things. Sometimes they want clarity a little too early before things are mature. So where are we? What are we doing? What do you call us?
And men, do you think men are not able to provide that clarity in the relationship?
I think men genuinely, they're not able to provide that clarity because they do not know. They're trying to figure it out. It's an interesting time to be a man, right? So for the longest time, as an Indian man, just 15, 20, 30 years ago, the onus was on you to find a good bride, for yourself, and you were sort of in the back seat. If you're a 40-year-old, eligible, good-looking man today, your sort of sphere of influence is from 30 to 50. You're in demand 10 years up, 10 years down.
Yeah.
So this increased demand has gotten into, I think, Indian men's heads, and they don't feel the need to clarify. They want to, you need to finish, they want to fit, even when they find someone that's perfect for them, they can't help thinking, is there someone better for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So tell me, Sunil, what are the biggest mistakes people are making today when they're trying to find love?
I think the biggest mistakes that people make today are in the name of clarity, and then in the name of knowing I know exactly what I want, it can be quite petty about requirements, right? So I have people coming to me saying, I will not meet someone who's under 5'10", which for Indian people is tall, right?
Yeah.
And I would enjoy fantastic match, 5'8.5". Like, nope, that's not what I want. I said, I was very clear in my ask. Like, you're gonna let a couple of inches where they don't matter
Yeah.
come in the way of perhaps what could have been a perfectly healthy, long, happy relationship, right? Men focusing on weight, men focusing on all sorts of things. So having this inflexibility on things that are going to change, things like location,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you can move.
Absolutely.
You can move to wherever you want, right? I think you hold yourself back.
I mean, I was one of them. I never wanted to move out of India.
But here you are.
And look where life took me, right?
Yeah.
Like, because then I was like, okay, let me give it a shot
Yep.
to see and meet and date the person. Keep an open mind, I
Right.
would say. So, yeah.
So absolutely. I think the biggest people mistake made is they keep their parameters way too narrow, and they're quite. I think it's good to have parameters, but they should be used as guidelines. And sometimes it's okay to color outside the lines just to see what's out there, and you may come back to your parameters, but it's good to keep an open mind.
I mean, you met your wife through, your Sirf Coffee. Tell us a little bit about your experience of how was it? Was it like, I don't believe in the concept of love at first sight,
Sure.
but what was it like?
I mean, I met my own wife on Surf Coffee, as you said. I started the company around 18 years ago, just under 18 years ago, and there was a lot of interest from people all over the world. I was a young single person myself, and I saw her profile. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is a very attractive profile. So
Yeah.
I contacted her in a gross violation of company policy. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just me at the time.
Yeah.
And, we got to know each other. And I did contact her under the idea of getting to know her better and setting her up with someone. But we happened to be in the same city at the
Oh.
time in Dubai, where you live now.
Yeah.
And so we met for an interview. Then we met a couple times, and we just really, really hit it off. So there you go.
Oh, right from setting her up with someone
Proof from
to
setting her up
marrying
with
her.
someone. I'm like, I'm going to set you up with me. So there was early product market fit or proof of concept right there.
Amazing. And tell us, if you had to roast dating apps in one sentence, what would it be?
I mean, designed to be deleted is the biggest scam that I've ever heard, right? They're designed to hook you on. And people talk about algorithms and dating apps getting better to setting you up. This isn't Netflix, right? Netflix can work on algorithms because once it knows what kind of movies you like, cohort-based matching, they can recommend more movies. But on dating apps, if you think about it, if you're still on dating apps, it means the dating apps have gotten it wrong, right? So they fundamentally are not fit for purpose in terms of, they increase reach, they increase options, but the fact that you're still on there tells you that it's not working as intended.
Let's talk a little bit about the trends, especially in bespoke curated matchmaking
Sure.
services like yours. So, what's the one thing that most people completely misunderstand about curated matchmaking services like yours?
I think the biggest thing people misunderstand about curated matchmaking is that I will get everything that I specify for. I'll get everything. I've given you a bunch of requirements, and you will go out on planet Earth and find this person. I mean, I'm not God. I can't build this person. I want the attributes of this guy.
Yeah.
I want this guy's height, this guy's resilience, this guy's education. I can't build you a man or a woman, right? You're going to have to take a hit somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest misconception is that matchmaking is foolproof and you will get absolutely everything you want. You may get most of what you want, but if you get everything, I mean, that's you're lucky.
Right. And what kind of success has your platform seen?
So I would say about 50% of dates on Surf Coffee turn into second dates. That's the first metric that we measure, right? Give us a little bit, after every date, we ask for a little bit of feedback. How's venue? How was your date from a sort of hygiene perspective? Was he on time? Was she on time? Did you have a good time? And ultimately, do you want to see each other again? And if both both the guy and the girl say yes, we consider that an early success, right? And then we encourage them to meet again and go on a second date and a third date. It's
Yeah.
only when one of them comes back to us do we set them up on other matches. So I would say at least 50% of dates on Sirf Coffee turn into second dates. We've had over 1,000 marriages in the last 15 years. Now, that might not sound like a big number, right? When people talk about millions of marriages, but if you think about the segment that I operate in, right? Premium, well-traveled,
Yeah.
fickle. This is the I love me segment, Priyanka, not the I
Yeah.
love you, right? Everyone is an overachiever here,
Yeah.
and they love themselves before they can love everyone else. So
Yeah.
to come up with 1,000 marriages, 1,000 weddings in this space, I think it's something I'm proud of.
Yeah. So you typically look at the modern, ambitious, independent
Yeah,
kind of
we're
profile.
definitely in the top 1% of global Indians and
Yeah.
people of Indian origin.
Right. So out of these 50% who move into the second date, how many of these get eventually marry?
It's hard to track because they get married well after they're on Surf Coffee, right? So we're a time-bound relationship of 4 months or 8 months, what have you. So it's hard to track how many of them. I would say a fair bit of those second dates turn into long-lasting relationships.
Right. Now, you've matched so many thousands of people on Sirf Coffee. Tell us one of the most craziest or the funniest stories you've seen.
I can recall a couple. So once we were onboarding a nice lady, and we asked her how old she was, and she said like I'm 43, right? And sort of we took her at face value, but as part of the onboarding process, we asked for ID, government issued ID.
Yeah.
So she, after a lot of coaxing and pushing, she finally sent us her passport copy because we asked for it several times, and it said she was 46. And that's okay. We cater to plenty of 46-year-olds. Well,
Yeah.
then she wouldn't let it go. She said her passport is wrong.
Oh my
Right?
God.
So, it doesn't matter. But my passport says I'm 46. In my heart of hearts, I feel like I'm in my early 40s, and that's what you should go for.
Yeah.
When, it's not really, it doesn't need to be a sensitive topic, right?
Right.
We had another match. Sorry, I feel like I'm ripping on women.
Yeah.
But we had another match who was very insistent on going abroad. She was a Sindhi girl. She's like, I work in the celebrity space. I'm going to go abroad. And, I know everyone here. I see myself in Los Angeles or New York. And, I need to meet someone Sindhi who's a professional so I can continue my career and all of that, right? I don't see myself having kids for the next decade. One of my matchmakers convinced her to meet someone from Pune.
Okay.
All right. He's a Maharashtrian person, wealthy businessman. She met him. Within 6 months, they were married.
They
and
were
it's been
married.
4 years. I think it's been 5 or 6 years, and they have 2 kids.
Oh,
So
wow.
our job as matchmakers is to, yes, take clients' expectations at face value, but also peel the onion a little bit to say,
Yeah.
right, you say you want this, but our experience suggests otherwise. So it's really taking, understanding what clients' expectations are, but also reading between the lines.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a nice story. What about cases where people are, say, divorced and who come on your platform? Do you also receive cases like those?
Yeah, there's plenty of folks that are divorced on Surf Coffee, and in fact, they make much easier clients. They come house trained, right? So first time divorces
Yeah.
are tough, right?
Yeah.
So they've gone through the cycle. Guys realize that, oh, actually, I didn't need to leave my towel there every day.
Yeah.
Or women realize whatever they need to realize, right? But there's a lot of reflection. There's some, hopefully, one would think there's some reflection and introspection. So yeah, we cater to single parents. We cater to folks who are divorced. We don't discriminate.
Tell me some interesting trends of people who have discussed of why the divorce cases are increasingly being seen today.
I think the capacity to compromise has diminished significantly, right? So you come into, folks, I think there's a hybrid. Even though folks are dating, there's a lot of pressure to get married, and you don't really, maybe you don't live together. You get to see a person on a holiday, a road trip, at the movies, at dinner. You don't get to know them properly. And then once you move in, you realize this is a completely different person and my value system is different. So I think a couple things. I think the reason why there's a lot of divorces in the Indian space nowadays is because honest conversations are not taking place about expectations, about goals. That's the first. Second, this idea that I don't like something, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just going to reject it, right?
So there's no patience.
There's no patience, or there's a diminished patience, right? So this ability to navigate conflict and overcome conflict, that's not as life skill that's being bestowed upon young people to then just, well, you're used to getting what you want.
Yeah.
And if you don't get what you want, you move on, right? Which is not a bad thing. You know, if you're in something toxic
Yeah.
and if you're in something that's not going to work, you know, it's good to move on,
Yeah.
right? But it's about figuring out what's a deal breaker and what's something you can overcome.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how are you guys different, say, from a Seema auntie, for example.
Well, you know, I respect Seema Auntie very much. She does her thing, and she's a great entertainer.
Yeah.
And you know, we were in a show together on Netflix, so it was good fun.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think Seema Auntie operates in the sort of more conservative circles of like Delhi and Bombay, South Delhi, South Bombay, where you know mums and dads are very much involved. I'm not sure she's really listening to her actual clients per se. And as she says, if you get 50 or 60% of what you want, then consider yourself lucky. And I think the metrics that Seema Auntie uses can be quite basic. You know, height, you know, profession.
Or looks.
You're both doctors. You'll be a great match, for example. So I think that works within certain circles when there's extended family involved. But the clientele that I'm sort of engaged with, that Sirf Coffee is engaged with, so you know, very well accomplished professionals, strong head on their shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, whether in finance, law, medicine, entrepreneurship, startup founders. These people know what they want, right? They're not consulting mommy and papa about, you know, what do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah.
It's more like they're informing their parents rather than, taking permission.
So the
I don't think it'll
people
work.
who are coming on your platform, you're saying that they don't necessarily take parental consent before they move forward with the date?
With their date, absolutely not. They don't need consent for a date. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think they'll go out with whoever they want. They might sort of, when things get very serious, involve their parents, but they don't involve their parents at the get-go. In fact, we don't talk to any family members. When we get requests to talk to someone's sibling or parent, usually we politely direct them to one of our competitors that will be able to accommodate that.
Right. And how do you figure out if two people will actually vibe in real life? Because when you look at a profile, sometimes
Sure.
the profile looks good on paper.
Yeah.
Even after you've interviewed, met the person, you see the vibe. But how do you really know whether they're going to click? As you mentioned about the lady who got married to the Pune-based guy, for example, where she wanted to go to LA. So how do you really know?
You know, the honest answer, Priyanka, we don't. We take an educated guesstimate. All right?
Okay.
That's the honest answer. And the beauty of Sirf Coffee and the beauty of this idea of going on a date is exactly that. We don't know. We think. We believe. But we don't know for sure. And the cool part is we don't need to know. You need to know, right? So when you give people the space to go on a date or two and change their mind, that is the beauty of sort of, curated matchmaking, right? Is that you don't need to know. You can go on 5, 6, 7 dates and still be okay with it. Figure out this person's not for me, right? So the fact that two families are not vested on someone having a cup of coffee is a great thing, right? You're an individual. So I think the idea of involving your family is a wonderful thing. Family should be part of relationships and weddings and all of that. I think as Indians, we get the order wrong. We use them as gatekeepers, right? When they should sort of have maybe absolute veto power, right? Like at the nuclear thing, like if there's a serious concern, then maybe let's talk about it, as opposed to getting involved really
at the
early,
start.
early.
Earlier, right? And how much do you think offline experiences, say going on say a road trip, or having an experience where both partners or both singles are equally involved, how much does that help in terms of the connection building?
I think it's absolutely key. Any connection that you build while while under your bed covers or on the toilet chatting to someone is, well, I'm not saying it's fake, but it could be a facade, right? You're not understanding who the other person is. When you meet someone in real life, or even better, when you travel with someone, you
Yeah.
get to know them, the good, the bad, the ugly, how they engaged in moments of stress, right? The
Yeah.
flight's late. How do you react?
Yeah.
You know, the waiter didn't bring the right dish. How do you react? Right?
Yeah.
The pleases, the thank yous, the posture, the
Yeah.
chemistry. I think traveling with someone, you know, even platonically, romantically, really gives you a sense of who they are.
Right.
So I would highly encourage it.
And does Sirf Coffee organize these kind of events?
So we haven't done travel experiences. So a couple of times a year we'll do cocktail parties, we'll do a brunch. We've done all over the world, from LA to Singapore, Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi. Um, they tend to be for folks that are not our clients, just to give a sense of, they're sort of more marketing events for us.
So like a 1 day event or a half a day event?
Not even. It would be like a high-end cocktail, like your best friend's cocktail party.
Okay.
Right. So imagine just a very high-end party where the vibe is nice, the music's just right. It's conducive to a little bit of romance, and you're getting to know a bunch of people.
And do these guys meet over coffee, or do they meet over drinks? Do you have like a protocol that they need to meet only
Sure.
for coffee or only for...
So we always do we either do drinks or we do a coffee. So either a cocktail or coffee. We try to avoid meals because it can get awkward on a first date. In case it's not going well, you're stuck with a person there for 90 minutes. It can get expensive depending on where you go. So we always do, we accommodate clients, right? Some clients want to meet on the weekends in the day. Others want to meet in the evenings. Some people drink, some people don't. So we can get quite, we accommodate our clients.
And what kind of dating trends are shocking for you right now? Like what shocks you right now?
There's a little bit of hypocrisy when it comes to sort of men and women, when it's a controversial opinion, but it's completely inappropriate for a guy to talk about physical attributes of a woman. It's a no policy, right? So it's right. We want to talk, if a guy starts describing what kind of woman he wants physically, it's really awkward and it's really unacceptable. But we tolerate the same for women just fine. The women say, look, I don't want anyone bold, or I don't want anyone with a punch, right? And we're like, tika, okay, no problem. Tell us more.
They
Right?
have such weird requests.
Yes, absolutely. Your hair is key, height is key. But we've gone the other way. We're so dismissive we're so concerned, and we're really sort of, I think we're almost afraid to get canceled, right? We've reached a point of hypocrisy where we will not tolerate a guy expressing any attributes that he desires in a woman physically, because it sounds really bad, quite tacky.
Yeah.
But we will accommodate women just fine, right? And not, when I say we, it's not Sirf Coffee. I think it's society. It's okay for a lady to say, I don't want to meet a bald guy, right? But it would be really really inappropriate for a guy to say, I want to meet a woman with a big bum, right? It'd be really awkward.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we've reached that point of hypocrisy. The other bit I would say is I'm shocked at the things people hold on to and turn people down on. Again, a few inches in height, postcode. They're like, no, he's amazing, but he lives in Santa Cruz. Right? And I can't date with someone where I have to take the C-Link every day, right? And stuff like that. So all kinds of stuff.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
How do you think the pandemic has changed the dating habits amongst people today?
I think the pandemic helped people realize that, a party for two is always more interesting. There's only so much paddle you can play with your friends, and there's only so many raves that you can go to. Ultimately, the pandemic helped people realize that what you want is someone to watch Netflix with on a Tuesday night, do the boring stuff, clean up the kitchen, go to bed, a support system.
Yeah.
All right. So for us, business was fantastic during the pandemic because people realized that, I don't need 5,000 swipes. I need one match.
Yeah.
People also got a lot more open-minded about location and distance, right? So this idea of talking on video calls online, on Zoom or whatever, it was a big deal before the pandemic. But after the pandemic, it's, video dates, if you will, have become fairly normal.
I think I was one of those.
Yeah, so there
Because
you go.
I met my husband during the pandemic. 6 months, we did not meet each other.
Yeah. So
But in those 6 months, you develop a comfort and a bond.
absolutely.
And then eventually, when I met, it was like, okay, meeting a friend.
Yeah. But you would have been less open to the idea of talking to someone online for 6 months
Absolutely. I
without the
wouldn't be
pandemic.
open
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Yeah.
What's the one mistake, Sunil, people keep repeating that kills a potential connection?
So the biggest mistake is people say no for a prospective match based on very little information. Ironically, the second mistake people make is people keep saying yes to someone after meeting them a couple times. And they know it's not going to work out. They'll go out anyway.
Why
it's
do you think that's
it's
happening?
just to keep options open, a plan B, company, habit. So it's ironic, right?
Yeah.
Saying no with such intensity before meeting someone, and then after meeting that person, knowing that they're not for you, still saying yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you because they want to keep their options open
Yeah.
and make sure, okay, I don't lose out this person.
Yeah,
What
so
if something.
my advice would be so always have sort of a fairly open mindset. I would on a first date, I think have an open mind. The worst case scenario, you might make a friend, have a cocktail, and then if he's got some chivalry, he might even pick up the bill, right? So it's an evening
Yeah.
out to get to know someone
Yeah.
and put your best foot forward.
In fact, that was my next question. What are the 3 tips you would give someone on their first date?
I think getting the right venue, being on time, dressing well, all of these old school habits, they go a long way with both men and women, right? So basic courtesy, basic chivalry, basic manners, I would say. The second tip I would give folks is be there, be present, and be yourself, and enjoy the moment. I've seen situations where two people have met, and the girl and the guy have not hit it off romantically, but then the guy has recommended his friend, right? Because he had such a good time on the date, right? So just because it may not work out romantically for you, that person has given up the time to be there with you, right? You've paid a service. Be there in the moment. Don't write it off just yet.
But you wouldn't know in the second date or the first date whether you're romantically inclined. Would you know that?
Some people do. Some people hit it off straight away. Other people, it's a little bit of a slow burn. I personally think the slow burn is the stuff that lasts longer, right?
That lasts longer.
Right? Because what is the object here? Is the objective here to simply go out, have a good time, and come back, or is the objective to want to actually be in each other's company in non-date settings? Like, look, life after dating is marriage, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, or a committed relationship at the very least, right? Boring logistics kick in, right? Electricity bills,
Absolutely.
flat tires.
It's very different.
For those of us that are fortunate enough to have helpers and maids, like logistics of that, and financial planning, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You need to like the person enough to withstand all of that with them.
So why do some people keep falling for the wrong type of person over and over again?
I'm not sure if there's a wrong type of person. I think there's a curiosity. There's a little bit of rebelliousness, and sort of maybe you come from a certain strata of society, and you come from very sort of where you haven't had access to risk, right? There was no risk tolerance when you were growing up, right? You were fairly sheltered, if you will. I think that happens in a way. I think most things come down to childhood. The way that you were reared, whether you saw conflict, you saw happiness, if you're comfortable in your own skin, right? It's a way to maybe get someone's attention, maybe other people's attention. Maybe it's a cry out for help. Maybe it's a way to just sort of numb the pain. You'd be surprised how much of our childhood is linked to our dating patterns.
Yeah. No, I'm aware of that because I think emotional intelligence and those kind of aspects also play a very important role.
Yeah.
And even the way you're raised.
Absolutely.
Actually, the way you repair conflict, right? Like if you've seen that in your family between your parents,
Yeah.
you will probably repair conflict in that same way
In the same way, yeah.
because that's familiar for you.
Indeed.
That's familiar territory for you.
I mean, it sounds awful and controversial, but happy, smart kids grow up to be happy, smart adults. And happy, smart adults tend not to make dumb decisions for the most part.
And what do you think of emotional intelligence? Do you think emotional intelligence is important on the first date, and do people even recognize it?
I think, again, a controversial comment. I think as globally, as a community, as a culture, IQ has never been an issue. We're smart people, Indians, right? We do well academically. I think EQ has been a bit of a problem, right? And that doesn't mean Indians from India per se. I mean, I'm talking if you're ethnically Indian, you can be British Indian or Indian American or Singaporean or whatnot. I think we generally lack EQ. The good news is it's changing.
And
It's
how is
changing.
it for men and women in terms of emotional intelligence?
I think men in general, like, regardless, I don't think they lack EQ, they lack communication skills, right? There is, as a guy, I can tell you, it's sort of, get up, stop crying, move on. You're stronger than this, you're better than this, it's okay, chalta hai. There is a lot of, we talk about toxic masculinity, but it starts in early years, right? That sort of put on a brave face. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. Boys don't cry, girls cry, stuff like that. So I think the EQ is there, buried deep down, and it needs to be surfaced up. The good news in, marriage, relationships, this is the time, I think, when stuff comes bubbling up again. And that is why it's absolutely critical, I think, for people to bubble up those things before they get married. So you can understand what you're getting into, to understand it, to recognize it, to then acknowledge whether you like this about this other person or not.
So, Sunil, I was keen to ask you, a lot of people face these issues like my type of person, or I want this type of person, or my type. Do you think that sabotages the chances of finding a good match, and how can someone overcome that?
So I think it's good to have some reference data about yourself, especially if you've dated a lot. So in that sense, having a type is not necessarily a bad thing. However, sticking to that type to the T is a very bad thing. So I think I like to encourage a type plus plus, right? So what are your fundamentals? And we'll deliver the fundamentals, right? That can be your core type, if you will, right? And I encourage that. It's good to have clarity and honesty about what will work for you and what won't. But to be sort of then bolted down into the ground based on that and being pedantic about it is not, I don't think is a good thing. And I think that limits your search, right? So for example, height is not a type. Right? That's not a type. Type tends to be sort of like he's outgoing, he's energetic, he's a homebody, or she's ambitious. That constitutes a type, right? Getting bogged down by pedantic details that won't sort of influence happiness in the long term, that's what really restricts people.
Let's talk a little bit about the business side of Sirf
Sure.
Coffee. I know you and Nena, it's a brother-sister duo running a matchmaking, a bespoke matchmaking service. How does it all come together when you talk about roles and responsibilities being divided between the two of you?
Sure. So I started Sirf Coffee a couple years before she came on board, and she had been working in the lifestyle space and journalism with magazines and the luxury space in Bombay. So I thought it was a good fit, and she came on board. Despite my sort of outwardly chatty personality, I found quickly that I may not be best suited to speak to all the clients on my own, right? I prefer to run the business. So we've kind of divided up where Nana runs with all things sort of client facing. So the actual matchmaking, and when I don't get the wedding invites, she does, or the team does, right?
Okay.
Because that's how they know. So she runs the matchmaking team
Yeah.
and sort of the client aspect of the business. Then I run sort of finance, strategy, product development, recruitment, investor relations, and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's quite neat.
So in terms of product development, what are the new things or new initiatives or products you're launching say in the next 2 to 3 years?
So I'll talk about a little bit about what we've launched recently in the last few years. So we were the first people in India to do offline events, and today they're a dime a dozen, right? So if you look up online, they're like Singles Mixer in Worli, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But believe me, 3 years ago, this did not exist, and Sirf Coffee pioneered that in India. We were the very first people. We did a great event at the Quorum Club.
And what is the success of these events?
I mean, people are there to have a good time. If they meet their matches, well done. Good for them. Good luck to them. but they generally tend to be fun events. So the other sort of product innovation we had is we launched a plan that's success based. So rather than take membership fees that's time based, we only took a small retainer, like executive recruitment,
Yeah.
and we only get paid upon success. So if we find you your match,
Yeah.
the bulk of the fees are due.
Got it.
We are now thinking about sort of bespoke experiences. Again, this idea of like weddings that are only for singles. That was a Sirf Coffee concept. We were the first to come up with it, and now
What's
it's sort of
that? Wedding for
proliferated.
singles?
So imagine having a giant wedding, a great Indian wedding for just single people. There's no bride, no groom,
Oh, okay.
but it's just a wedding. Right, so you experience that wedding fervor.
Have you
that
done?
format
Have you
and stuff like
implemented? Have
that.
you executed the concept?
So we were in development with a couple of partners, and they went ahead with it, without us, because I didn't quite. Was quite picky about what I wanted to do. But hopefully down the pipeline. But I think offline is becoming the norm.
Offline events and
Yes.
yeah, where the connection is stronger and where you can meet people
Indeed.
and get to know people, right? And what is the secret sauce of success, say, for your relationship in your marriage? Like, what would you advise to this whoever's watching the show today? What is the advice you would give young people today about
Well, if you
having a
ask-
successful marriage?
If you ask my wife, she will tell you Sunil does not know the secret sauce to marriage at all, and he has a long way to go, and he has lots to learn.
As all women would.
Yeah. Look, I think, I think, I don't think it's complicated, right? When in hindsight, I've been married now 15, 16 years, coming up to 16 years.
Yeah.
In hindsight, the origins of conflict is often when I was unwilling to listen, right? Some of the mistakes I've made, right? So a friend becomes a boyfriend who becomes a husband. That's not three different people, right? Your wife is expecting that same person to come through. The friend, the boyfriend, the husband.
Yeah.
She's like, that's not three different roles. That's not three different sets of languages,
Yeah.
right? That's the same person. And why have you changed? What role are you fitting? Who are you representing?
Yeah.
Right? I think if men can remember as guys that she fell in love with this person, the friend, and if you continue being a friend, she will value that.
Yeah.
Women also mirror, or I would say forget mirror, they amplify what you give them. So you give them a little bit of grief, they'll give you a lot of freaking grief. If you're giving them a little bit of love, they'll give you a lot of love back, right? So there isn't like guys when they're used to like, and you say, there's a little bit of conflict, you expect that level of conflict.
Yeah.
Women can triple it for you, all right? They understand your psyche, and they know where it hurts, what hurts.
That's how men and women are wired. They're
Yeah,
wired very
they're-
differently.
They're aware. So my suggestion, at least from my own marriage, would be to listen. You are truly entering a partnership, right? Where you are either co-partners or you're no longer the boss, right? So as family expands,
Yeah.
you move away from being the star of your own movie to having a small supporting role in an OTT platform. And
a
if
good
you're
one.
not ready for that,
Yeah.
don't get married.
Yeah. That's, I think, a very valuable piece of advice that you've shared. Now, before we wrap up the show, if you could give one piece of no BS advice for modern relationships today, what would that be?
No BS advice. I would say marriage is optional. I know it sounds awful as a professional matchmaker, but you are going to put yourself and the other party through a lot of grief if you don't want to do this thing. You are in a privileged position in 2025 where you no longer have to be married to be an accepted member of society. That wasn't the case even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you want to find the love of your life, absolutely do it. Do it with your heart. Treat it like a project. Don't take it so personally,
Yeah.
right? It's just a pain point in your life. Use an app, use a matchmaker,
Yeah.
or do an MBA and find someone, right? But the key thing is
Yeah.
know that you're actually looking for someone and then sort of go on that journey.
Have the right intentions.
Have the right intent, right? It's way too problematic to do it just to check a box,
Yeah.
right? There's no returns.
Right. Okay, Sunil, so this is a very interesting and fun segment
All right?
where I'm going to be asking you some uncomfortable questions.
Sure.
I'd like you to pick up a few cards and maybe,
Okay.
give your take on some uncomfortable questions that
Sure.
love for you to share it with the viewers.
Sure, let's do it. Should I read out the questions?
Yes, please.
All right. What's the one thought that keeps you up at night as a founder? Well, one of the things we struggle with in Sirf Coffee in the last few months is men not wanting to get married. So we've onboarded these amazing women from all over the world, right? Gorgeous, highly accomplished, lovely, would make fantastic partners, friends, and stuff like that. But the rate at which we're onboarding women versus men is disparate. We're at like 3, for every 10 people we onboard, 7 are women. So I'm wondering who will we match these up with? And that's a problem that I struggle with. And I don't want to lower the bar, all right, of the men we onboard.
Wow.
So
no, that's a real problem. So
that is a
what are
real
you
problem.
doing with this sort of,
I think men tend to be a little bit more
ratio.
price sensitive. So we're thinking about some controversial approaches to product development. So should we charge the men less? Right? Which is, can you imagine that from like from our days of going clubbing, where women used to go into the clubs for free and men were paying. We've now reached a point where we charge women full price, and should we perhaps charge the men a little bit less?
But I'm not sure how women would take that.
Yeah, so it's not something we've done, but
Yeah.
again, it's a problem that's that we've struggled with. What's one popular opinion about entrepreneurship that can get you canceled? So I don't know about canceled, since we're not in this sort of media space, but it's not for everybody. And one thing that I struggle with is young people coming out of university with zero work experience or corporate experience. And I say that, I say that with fond memories. So this idea of working for somebody and learning basic HR skills, right? Sending a crisp email that makes sense,
Right.
doing stuff on time, hell, doing what you said you would, right?
Yeah.
And actually delivering it on time. So being responsible for somebody else. And what I struggle with as an entrepreneur is having a lot of in entrepreneurship is young folks not having experienced any of that, diving into entrepreneurship, forget funding, forget market fit. I think they're missing out. I think they're missing out on the joys of having a job for a little while. I know it's controversial and everyone wants to work for themselves.
Yeah.
But you'll enjoy it more when you know what the other side looks like.
Yeah. So experience this side as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you ever make a decision that looked good just for PR? I'm not sure. Let me have a think. When we were asked to come feature on Indian Matchmaking, it was already sort of hitting virality. So, I'm not sure if we fully agree with all of the tenets or values that are sort of propagated by the show. But I thought it would be a fantastic opportunity to be on Netflix. So perhaps, but I think we had a good time at it.
Yeah, we've come to the end of the show, and that was Sunil Hiranandani, the co-founder of Sirf Coffee, a bespoke Indian matchmaking service. So if you've liked this episode, please do put in your comments below and DM us if in case you want to know more about Sirf Coffee. We'd love to understand your thoughts of what you felt about this episode, and also do give us suggestions of guests that you would like us to bring on the channel. Till then, please do follow Breakthrough Moments on YouTube and Instagram. We are available on both the platforms. Till then, keep building, stay inspired, and stay curious.